Hello and welcome to this week's Glasstire Top 5. This is the week of April 22nd, 2021. I'm Christina Rees.
And I'm Brandon Zech.
We are in Rockport right now, and I realized that Rockport Center for the Arts and the Arts Festival was on Top 5 last week. So while these shows where we are sitting at Rockport Center for the Arts and its temporary digs as they build their spectacular new building, which will be finished next year, we're sitting in a show by Richard W. James, who is on faculty at Corpus Christi A&M and teaches sculpture there. This is a solo exhibition, and then there's another solo exhibition in the other space by Jimmy Kabbalah, who goes to UTA.
UT Arlington.
Yeah, he's at UTA, and he's about to graduate from there, and that's a great kind of textile and painting show, and he's going to head off to Pratt for his MFA shortly. And anyway, it's nice to be here, and it's nice to get to see the building site and all of the really exciting developments that are happening here in Rockport. So we're just on the road because we're both vaccinated, and we can be on the road again. And it's exciting to kind of get out and get around. We were in Corpus yesterday. But anyway, we're going to count down the top 5 art events in Texas this week.
As usual, and we're going to start with number 5.
So number 5 this week is PACIFICO SILANO at Houston Center for Photography. This show is up through May 9th. And writer out of New York, Salome Kokoladze, wrote a piece for us on this photographer who I think she may have already been familiar with. He lives also in New York City, and these are photographs. They're collages of photographs, and they're really beautiful. Actually, they're much more kind of implicit than explicit, but it's kind of looking at a lot of things, almost kind of a queer experience through the Wild West. In fact, the name of the show is "Cowboys Don't Shoot Straight Like They Used to," which is a good title for the show.
That's a good title.
Yeah, he's got work in MoMA and a lot of museums. It's nice for HCP to have this show right now, and we've got that review on the site.
Number 4 this week is 2 exhibitions at Sicardi Gallery in Houston. It's a solo show of works by Marco Maggi and a solo show of works by ELIAS CRESPIN. So the show of works by Maggi, it's a great show of like cut paper pieces. There's no good way, this is one of those things where you have to really make an appointment and go see it. There's no good way to describe what these are. These are cut paper pieces that are minuscule. You can tell that he spent a lot of time on them. They're built up onto this paper surface, and they're pattern-like, you know, they're the kind of thing you want to impose your own view on. It's like a cityscape, it's like a landscape. But they're wonderful. And the second show of works, which is downstairs in Sicardi's kind of larger space, is a show of kinetic pieces. Kinetic pieces that are run off of an algorithm. They're connected by monofilament to motors in the ceiling that manipulate the different areas of the piece. So, you know, if it's a cube, like the 4 top corners are connected so the cubes shift and like dance. It's like choreography. It's like kinetic art choreography. Again, both of these shows, things you have to see in person, things you have to really experience, and I had a wonderful time seeing them last week. It is definitely worth the trip.
Number 3 on our list this week is in Dallas at Liliana Bloch Gallery. It is Alicia Eggert, and it's a new it's a show of all new works by her. I feel like she's kind of, in a sense, one of the kind of powerhouse artists up in North Texas right now. She lives and works in Denton. She teaches at UNT. You've seen her work because she's showing up a lot in a lot of big, strong group shows and etc. But she uses a lot of text, and she uses it very thoughtfully, and she often uses it in quite spectacular ways. My understanding of this show, which opens this weekend, is there's going to be a big installation, and I think a giant, sort of not immersive, but just a really big, imposing installation piece with text. This opens this weekend. This is her first like full-scale solo show at Liliana Bloch Gallery, so this is definitely a show to catch.
Number 2 this week is, so it's an event at Landmarks, or an event hosted by Landmarks, which is UT's public art program at UT Austin. So this is kind of a yearly event. It's where Landmarks commissions students at UT to respond to works in their public art collection through music. So they work with, I believe it's the Butler School of Music at UT, and normally the kind of exciting part is these performances happen on location in relation to the public art pieces. Of course, because of COVID right now, these are going to be streamed online on Vimeo, but the nice thing about that is you don't have to find the public art piece on UT's campus and attend. You can see this from anywhere. So it is happening tonight. I'm not sure if the videos are going to be able to be watched afterwards. They may or may not be. Don't quote us on that. But if you catch it tonight, it's worth it. It's always a great program. And, you know, blending public art and UT that students walk by all the time and may not think about, and bringing in musicians and see how they see these works is always, I think, a really interesting thing to do.
Number one on our list is a show at the Art Museum of South Texas in Corpus Christi. We were there yesterday. The show that we want to highlight is called Eye to Eye, Self-Portraits from the National Portrait Gallery in DC. This is a great, I think there are about 60 to 80 self-portraits.
There's a lot of works.
Oh, this is a really, really fine show.
There's a number of pieces in them. There's paintings, there's more traditional works. There's a lot of prints.
There are a lot of prints, and I knew you would notice that, and I knew that you would say that. There are also just the actual drawings, but the prints are great. And all these works on paper we really like that kind of thing. But to me, there's something and these are artists whose names you know.
Although there are a few that I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
There are quite a few that I was just kind of like, oh, this is interesting. Or I had maybe seen like one or two of their works, but I didn't know their body of work well.
Yeah, right. And they did, the National Portrait Gallery put the show together. It's a traveling show, but they did throw some Texas artists and some Texas adjacent artists in there, including Rauschenberg has a great portrait, self-portrait it's called Autobiography. And it's actually stacked the way it's meant to be stacked because that museum has the height to do it. There are a lot of portraits where the artist did a self-portrait 1 year and then 40 years later did it. And there are a lot of self-portraits that were made like within days or weeks before the artist actually died, including George Bellows. That's incredible stuff, and it's melancholy, and it's perfect for right now because we're all wanting to look at each other's faces. We want to look at faces.
A few of the pieces in the show, it's really interesting to see figurative works by artists that you don't necessarily think of as figurative artists in the traditional sense, like a Louise Nevelson self-portrait.
Yeah, absolutely. That show is up through May 16th, so you've got just a little bit more time to see it, and we highly recommend it. Right now, also, there's a really strong faculty show going on in the museum. It's the faculty of A&M at Corpus Christi, and there are some really, really good artists in that show, some really good art in that show, and then there's a really beautiful permanent collection drawing show or works on paper show upstairs. You really should catch all three if you're going to go to the museum.
Yeah.